So then let's go back to my situation. What happened with me was about 15 months ago, I had flown to Rarotonga in the Cook Islands for a board meeting. In the evening, I'd been out to dinner with friends. Well, actually, it was dinner on the beach at the hotel I was in. I went to go home to bed on my second level hotel room. I must have been walking up the stairs that were external wooden stairs in the dark, and we believe I fell backwards and I hit my head badly on this, just off the centre. Now, I don't remember any of that. I have amnesia. I was actually found by a lady across the road, wandering lost, not knowing who I was or where I was. She luckily figured out that I was a guest from across the road and got me help. The owners of it's a small hotel, who I've known for many years, then took me to hospital. Well, actually, sorry, there's a step there. At first, because it was dark, they actually didn't think that they didn't realise I had a head injury. In fact, because I was kind of wobbling, I was like this, and I was slurring my words, and I had amnesia, they all thought that I was really drunk. Now, in fairness, I had consumed a few wines at dinner, but nothing that would cause that sort of effect. So they took me up to bed, put me to bed. I woke up in the morning in the dark at about 5 o'clock in the morning and thought, oh man, my head really hurts on the back. And remember, I couldn't remember what had happened the night before. I put my hand behind and touched it, and it came across away wet. I thought, that's not good. So I went into the bathroom, put the lights on, and I had blood on my hand. My head was really sore. I had blood all down my neck. I went back into my bed, into the bedroom in the hotel. My pillow was completely covered in blood. And you can imagine by this stage I'm starting to freak out. So I got some clothes and jandals or sandals on, went downstairs to find the owners and said, look, you know, I've got a problem, I'm bleeding, I need to go to hospital. And one of the owners drove me up the road, up the hill to the hospital. They cleaned me all up. I had a very big lump on my head. They said, look, it looks clean, we'll give you antibiotics. They gave me an x-ray. Because I was in a small island nation, they don't have a lot of equipment. So in fact, all they had there was an x-ray machine and an ultrasound. So they couldn't do anything in terms of scans to look inside my head. I was sent back to the hotel, but the owners, who are old friends, Paul and Michelle had in fact had a very bad head injury some years prior in Wellington in New Zealand and knew what to do. So she moved me to a room right off their reception, and she checked on me regularly so that you know, she could see that I wasn't falling asleep or being sick, etc. I did throw up once, and I did sleep on and off during that first 24 hours, but they looked after me carefully to see that I was okay. I then had major problems with balance. I couldn't walk around without hanging on to things, even to go to the toilet. It was quite dangerous. I was obviously very tired, as you get with head injuries, and I largely laid on my bed. What I'll do in either this video while we edit it or in the next one is I'll put some photos in for you of a whole bunch of stuff. So Abby and my head injury, and then the wedding where Abby went to when she was concussed, etc. So anyway, I was in a pretty bad way. I wanted to go home to my family and to get proper testing done at a hospital, but I couldn't get clearance to fly. So Air New Zealand wouldn't fly me home. Their medical team wanted clearance from the hospital. Neither the hospital nor the Air New Zealand medical team would clear me. So I was there for, I think, 5 days before I could fly home. In retrospect, that was quite frightening, because had it been worse in terms of my head and I had developed a brain bleed, I would have been in serious trouble. Luckily, someone up there was looking after me, and I got to go home. I flew home, which was hard. I wasn't feeling good, obviously, but the Air New Zealand looked after me, got me home, and I went to our big Auckland hospital and was there for a full day of observation with a number of different kind of head scans. Again, luckily for me, there was no internal damage. My skull was also fine, but I was in bandages and in a pretty poor way. I rested at home. Obviously, I couldn't work. I was, in no fit state to do that. I felt very, very tired, very headachy, couldn't concentrate, horrendously sensitive to light and to noise. I had to wear sunglasses. Often I had to wear earplugs. I was even wearing sunglasses inside. And it was just a pretty awful time. Again, like Abby, I was very lucky. I had our New Zealand ACC system to look after me, and I got all the medical care that I needed. So I also was looked after by the same concussion clinic as Abby, and in fact we got the same concussion manager, which was fantastic because she's a lovely lady. Her name's Penny. I'll give her a plug. If anyone else in New Zealand knows her, she's first class. She's a neurological or head injury specialist. So from there to now, 15 months on, a very, very long haul. My biggest issue has been visual and balance, visual in particular. Apparently, because I hit on the back of my head, and my brain bounced across here and back, it particularly impacted on my visual processing area. And whilst I could see perfectly clearly, in the sense that, I didn't need my glasses prescription changed or anything, I couldn't process what I was seeing. So any movement for me was really difficult. I couldn't watch television because anything moving across the screen made me feel sick. I couldn't look at videos. Being in the car was a nightmare. If I had to go to appointments, obviously I couldn't drive, and I wasn't allowed to drive, I think, for nearly 6 months. But as a passenger, it was awful as well. So I couldn't cope with the movement in the car. I had to have my eyes shut. Otherwise, I would feel violently ill. So that's taken a long time to settle down, and I'm still now having behavioural optometry sessions once a week to help. Now, it's improved a lot. For example, one of the tests that they do when I was assessed, it's a long stick, a measuring stick with a ball on it. And they move that closer and closer to your eyes, tracking how long your eyes can focus on that ball before you go cross-eyed and you lose your focus. Now, when they started with me, I was at 29 centimetres. Now, apparently normal is about 5 centimetres. After 4 months of therapy earlier this year, I was down to 8 centimetres and I'm making progress. Having said that, I still can't read for pleasure. I read for work. I've got to the point where I can scan to read a document or a book or on a screen, which I couldn't do initially. I mean, I initially couldn't read my emails. It just made me feel sick. I couldn't do more than a couple of lines. So that's a great sadness to me. I used to be a voracious reader. That's one of my favourite things to do. I find it very relaxing and peaceful. And I haven't read a book for pleasure since. I hope I will get back to that, but for right now, my eyes are like kind of a battery in an old iPhone is how I think of them. They have very limited hours of usage per day before the battery runs down and I've got to recharge it. The only way I can recharge it, my eyes, is to rest with them closed, preferably with an eye mask on. At the beginning, I was having to rest more than I was having my eyes open, I guess you would say, but gradually that proportion changed and I've got to the point where I'm now down to a rest in the middle of the morning, a rest after lunch, and a rest at about 4 o'clock. Again, initially I used to sleep a lot like Abby, because when you're recovering, your brain needs a lot of sleep to repair. But that's gradually disappeared as well. So over time, the sleeping got less and less. I haven't slept on those rests for a few months. Now I just have to have a break where I have my eyes closed to recharge that battery. I do find it frustrating. I used to be, I guess, a type A personality, very full on with lots of projects, lots of work going on. I was doing consultancy and contracting and directorships. I haven't done any consulting since I hit my head. I just can't cope with it. It's too much, particularly as I usually travel overseas to the Pacific Islands to do that. So I've kind of brought down the parameters of what I do, and I'm largely now Auckland based, and I limit what I do to manage my tiredness and stress. For those of you that have been through this sort of injury or you're helping someone with it, one of the hardest things I found along the journey was not to get really depressed and discouraged. And we'll talk about that in more detail in videos to come as well. But if I sit here and look back now after 15 months, and Abby's the same after 3.5 years, we can say, my goodness, we've come a long way. We're certainly not perfect yet, but we are making progress, and we hope that that will continue, and we'll continue to work at that. So I hope that's been helpful for you to give you some idea of what other people are going through. I know that ours aren't as bad head injuries as some people get, but they've certainly been very traumatic and difficult for us to get through. On the scale of head injuries of mild, moderate and severe, I know that there will be people listening to the video, yourself perhaps, who might have had a more mild experience or a more severe experience. I suspect we sit somewhere in the middle. But wherever you sit or your loved one sits, we will make a real effort to help you and give you lots of techniques to help ease your journey through your recovery. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye for now.